In this video, I'm going to be explaining all subclasses for every class in the Rune Slayer. So first off, we're going to go over the Mage class, and the Mage has two subclasses, which are Warlock and Sorcerer. So we're going to go over Sorcerer first. Now the number one thing to keep in mind with Sorcerer is that when you use your abilities, you have to understand the arcane charges. Now, in order for you to use Arcane Finale, Mend, and Explosion, you need a certain amount of charges in order for you to use those abilities. And in order for you to get these charges, all you have to do is just hit an NPC and you're able to get these charges. But the only thing is, you're encouraged to have 60 seconds to use one of these charges. And if you want to stack more arcane charges, then all you have to do is hit more NPCs. But not every single time you hit an NPC, you'll get these charges. So you're just gonna have to test your luck. So the first ability we're gonna go over is Arcane Finale. This ability costs 4 arcane charges and it casts a powerful finale spell, delivering devastating magical energy. This costs 200 mana and it does 50 magic damage. As you can see, this guy is gonna use Arcane Finale, and interesting fact is that it does 77 damage per tick and not just 77 alone. Now this guy has more damage than its base attack because he probably has more intellect than what the ability said it was going to go for. Now the next ability is called Arcane Mend, and this one basically heals yourself using 2 arcane charges. This costs 75 mana. So as you can see, this guy is using Arcane Mend and he just gained some HP. I believe it was 50 something HP. And this is really good for healing yourself and plus multi-classing with Priest. So you can use Arcane Mend and you can heal yourself with Holy Light by multi-classing Priest and Mage, which would be a good idea depending on what you want to do. And the last ability is called Arcane Explosion. This consumes 1 arcane charge to unleash a powerful arcane explosion. This does 25 magic damage. It will cost 100 mana. This ability is really good for when enemies are closing in on you and you don't want to only just hit them with your staff, but rather you want to use something like this just to keep the enemies away. Now moving on to the second subclass from the Mage is Warlock. And for Warlock, you're basically a summoner. You can summon fiends, you can summon imps, and in order for you to do that, you need souls. So souls are a resource obtained by creatures killed with soul steel. So in order for you to get souls, you have to use soul steel. And what is soul steel? Soul steel rips the soul from the defeated for harvesting its essence upon execution. The target must be near your level. This is 20 damage and it costs 100 mana. So in order for you to get souls, you need to use soul steel, and to use soul steel, the enemy needs to be near death. So you can't just kill them with any attack. The last attack you need to kill them is with soul steel. And the best enemy to kill to get the most amount of souls is this enemy that I'm going to show you on the screen. The Belzik, I believe. I don't know how to say it. And as you can see, there's a gray bar, and that bar shows the percentage of your souls. Now let's go over the summons. The first one is Summon Imp, which summons an imp with souls. This will cost 25% of souls. And for the Fiend, this costs 75% of your souls. Both of these are very powerful, but the most powerful one is the Fiend. And using these summons, you can't just use them and expect them to stay alive forever, because once these summons die, you have to farm more souls again using soul steel, and you know that's going to take a long time. So when you have these summons, if you're done using them, then that's when sacrifice comes in. This dismisses your current demon reclaiming its essence as souls. So if you used to summon Fiend, and then let's say you guys are fighting the Goblin Champion, and you're done using him, then you sacrifice so you can get your 75% of souls back. Same thing with Imp. When you're done with him, you use sacrifice to get 25% of your souls back. And then once the cooldown of the summon is over, you can respawn him again and keep doing the same thing. But then like I said, once they die, then you cannot get the souls back again. And then you have to keep farming for souls by using soul steel, and you don't want to do that. And keep in mind that when you sacrifice them, then once you summon them again, their HP resets and they will now have full HP as if they never got injured. And so now that we went through the Mage, we are going to go to the Thief. And the Thief have 2 subclasses, which is Assassin and Ninja. So we're going over Assassin right now. So the first ability is called Veil, which is veil yourself in the shadows. This costs 20 focused, and you basically become invincible throughout everyone that's in the game, such as the mobs and people. But the thing is, you cannot interact with anything. You're only invincible to everyone in the game. And this ability lasts forever until you strike, and then you become visible. So the next ability is called Shadow Step. And this costs 20 focus, and Shadow Step is steps through the shadows to get to your target. So this is a teleportation. As you can see, the guy is using Shadow Step and teleports behind this person. This is very useful for getting to your target as fast as possible. Next, we have Greater Initiative. This is more like a passive, which is your attacks inflicts greater damage when you catch your enemies off guard. So when a player is out of combat, then you can just hit them and you will do more damage. I'm guessing this is more like a PvP thing. Next is Death Mark, which is unleashing ambush upon a target already bleeding invokes Death Mark. So as you can see, this guy is using ambush and he's doing multiple amount of damage when a knife exits out his body. That what you saw was a Death Mark because the enemy was bleeding, and that what invokes it. Now the last ability is called Gouge. Once close range, sees a humanoid target and viciously slash their eyes, leaving them blinded. This costs 30 focus and it does 10 damage. So as you can see, this guy is using Gouge and he's able to blind them and just attack them from anywhere. This only works for humanoid targets, so only players, and this ability is perfect for PvP. Alright, so now that we got the assassin out the way, we're gonna go over ninja, which is the second subclass of the thief. So the first ability is Rising Fang. Deliver a swift upward slash that launches both you and your enemy to the air. This costs 20 focus. But then as you do Rising Fang, this is where Skyrend, this ability activates, because successfully once landing Rising Fang grants you the ability to unleash Skyrend. So this is how these will combine together. As the guy is doing Rising Fang, then Skyrend activates and it does a lot of damage when these are combined. And now you have Rend, which is dash swiftly through your enemies, launching them into the air upon impact. This does 5 damage and costs 25 focus. So this is some examples of using Rend on a Slime King, but the description really fits more for PvP. So this is actually this guy doing it to a humanoid, and you can see that it's dashing quickly through him and he actually jumps up just like what the description said with the ability. So this is more for a PvP build. Alright, so now we got the thief out of the way, let's go over the striker subclasses. And the striker has 2 subclasses, which are Asura and Monk. So let's go over Asura. So the first ability of Asura is Wrath. Landing Asura's Crash will give you Wrath. So to understand how to get Wrath, we need to understand what is even Asura's Crash. Now, Asura's Crash is teleport behind them to slam them back to the ground with devastating force. Can only be used after knocking an opponent into the air. So you're able to have Wrath if you use Asura's Crash. And in order for you to use Asura's Crash, it can only be used after knocking an opponent into the air. And how do you knock an opponent to the air? Well, you use Leap Smash. So this is some examples of using Leap Smash to use Asura's Crash, so that way you can get Wrath. And then Asura's Wrath is basically, once you use this, it builds up Wrath to power up, so you basically could do more damage. And next we have Monk. So Monk has 2 abilities, which is Spirit Shift and Spirit Burst. So Spirit Shift is transform your stance, embracing a new spirit form. Now there are 3 different forms from Spirit Shift, which are Wolf form, Bear form, and Panther form, and each of these forms have different Spirit Burst. So this guy is using Spirit Burst for the Panther form, and it kicks enemy into the air and knocks him down. And this is the Spirit Burst for the Bear form, and it does a very heavy punch to the enemy, leaving them knocked into the air. And lastly, for the Wolf Spirit Burst, it does a 3 combo attack and it does crazy damage to the enemy. Alright, so now that we're done with strikers, both subclasses, let's move to Priest, which only have 1 subclass. And this one is called Cleric. Now, the first ability, Angelic Wings, which is a passive, and this passive is chance to grant Angelic Wings after casting Holy Light or Flash Heal. And the Angelic Wings grants 25% cooldown reduction, allows mana regen while casting, and increases your mana regen for around 10 seconds. Now the next ability is called Clarity. This focuses your mind in the moment of divine clarity, making your spell cost no resources and increases your critical strike chance for a short duration. So basically, when you use Clarity, you can use any single spell that you want and you don't use any mana at all. So as you can see, I am fighting this mud crab with some random dude, and I ended up popping Clarity, and I used my Greater Smite, and as you can see, it took no mana away from me. And then when I use it again, this is where I begin to use mana without Clarity. Now the last two abilities, I couldn't find anyone doing a showcase of it, and I don't have it myself. I'm going to explain what they do. So Divine Healing is your healing spell restores a portion of their healing to affect you. This basically means whenever you heal someone, a percentage of that healing also heals you. This means that if you cast a healing spell on an ally, you get a portion of that healing for yourself. And for Angelic Guardian, this ability buffs an ally, making them receive more healing than normal. So this means if they die while the buff is active, it would automatically revive and gain more HP than normal. So now that we're done with the Priest subclass, which was Cleric, we're going to go over Warrior subclasses. And Warrior has 3 subclasses, so we're going to go over Swordmaster before we go over Knight and Berserker. So for Swordmaster, the first ability is called Flicker Strike. Flicker Strike teleports to enemies for a piercing strike, and this is how Flicker Strike looks like when using on a goblin, and it does a decent amount of damage. And now we have Field, which creates a zone where Flicker Strike auto targets enemies. If you're inside the field and you use Flicker Strike, if you used to hit an enemy, you would instantly hit the other enemy. So this guy is using Field. It doesn't do anything, but it does something when you use Flicker Strike. So once you attack them, you instantly hit the other enemy. And this is just some examples of goblins being hit by Flicker Strike. And now this is the same example, but with the rats. Now the last one is Flux, and this is attacks inside the field can add bonus hits to Flicker Strike. So if you use to hit an enemy with Flicker Strike, then you gain stacks, and that stacks increase the chance to not only hit the enemies one time while using Flicker Strike, but multiple times. I couldn't find a showcase of the example of Flux being used, but you get the point. Now that we got Swordmaster done, I would hop into Knight, but then I can't find any showcase of people using Knight, so I'm just gonna hop straight into Berserker. So let's go over the first passive, which is Rage, and it is a special resource generated in battle. This helps you put more damage into the enemies only when you're in battle. Now the second passive is called Bloodlust. Increases physical damage and lifesteal based on missing HP. So this gives you the ability to lifesteal, and the lower your health, the more lifesteal you gain. The more health you have, the less lifesteal you gain. So if you used to have a lot of health, your lifesteal will be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and the lower your health is, the higher the chance you get more HP, such as 10, 15, around that range. But the most you would typically get is 15. Which is not that much of a lifesteal, but this is what Bloodlust gives you. Next we have Bloodthirst, a 2-hit attack that restores HP. Now in order for you to use Bloodthirst, you need to fill up your rage bar. And in order for you to fill up your rage bar, all you have to do is hit NPCs until you get a certain amount of rage to use this ability. So Bloodthirst cost 30 rage, and Enrage cost 40 rage. So this is the showcase of this guy using Enrage, which is enhanced power at the cost of rage. And this is a showcase of this guy using Bloodthirst, which is a 2-hit attack that restores HP. This does a decent amount of damage to the enemies, but for sure is really good for restoring some HP just in case if you're low. Now that we're done with Warrior, let's go over the Archer. Now the Archer has 2 subclasses, which are Sharpshooter and Beast Tamer. So let's go over Sharpshooter. Now the first ability is called Ballistic Shot. This fires a fast, heavy projectile arrow. So as you can see, this guy is shooting the ballistic shot. It has far range and it does around 19 damage. But the thing is, it's basically skill based because you have to aim it yourself. You can't just aim at them hoping that the arrow is going to go straight. You're going to have to angle it a certain way. So next is Dragon Piercer, a powerful charge shot that pierces armor. It sounds pretty straightforward. I cannot go over this because I can't find a showcase to show you a visual example. It sounds pretty straightforward, a charge shot that pierces armor. And last but not least, we got the Beast Tamer. Now, the Beast Tamer has 3 abilities. And the Beast Tamer is basically like another Warlock, but except this is a little bit different. It can tame Beast instead of Summon Beast. So the first one is Feral Strikes. This is pet attacks heal in proportion to damage dealt. This means when your beast is in battle, the health that it loses, it ends up gaining some health back as well. This is good because you don't have to worry about your beast taking so much damage without being healed when Feral Strikes can heal your tame. And Alpha Predator sounds very straightforward. It allows you to tame beast. As you can see in this clip, you're just taming beast. And the last one is called Beastal Swiftness. Increase movement speed while mounted. Now this one sounds, again, pretty straightforward. This guy's on top of a snake, and you can see that his movement speed is increased because of this passive. And that's it for today's video of all subclasses for every class in RuneSlayer. Hope you guys found this video very valuable, and if you guys want access to this guide that I made, then just go in the link in the description or in the pinned comment down below. This guide would help you search up your desired subclass, and you can look through every single ability that they have, just so you won't be confused and you know what to look for in your subclass. Once again, I hope you guys found this valuable. Any questions that you have about RuneSlayer, just comment down below and I'm gonna try my best to answer you guys questions. And thank you guys for watching this video.